Hello, citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel here once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review. So, for the second year in a row, AEW finds themselves in Wembley Stadium. But will this year's outing be as good, if not better, than last year? Let's find out. It's time to review All In. So, of course, as always, I'm not a professional wrestling reviewer or analyst or anything like that. Just a man who enjoys a good time. And I gotta say, this was a pretty fun show. This was a pretty solid show for the most part. So without further ado, I guess let's get right into it. Now, if you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of know how this works. If you haven't, I'm gonna be talking about what I liked and disliked about the event and each match. We're gonna go match by match, of course. But before we do that, at kind of well, first of all, I guess I'll get into kind of an update as to what's going on, the kind of order of things throughout the weekend. So, tomorrow, because it's my birthday, I have a special review. But otherwise, we are going to do System Shock Radio and as well as my official All Out predictions. Now, for the past couple events, that being a, Bash in Berlin and NXT No Mercy, I did them in community posts. Now, I don't think I'm gonna do every prediction in community post, but I think I might sprinkle them in from time to time just to drive up community posts. I definitely I've always told myself that I want to do community posts like at some point because that drives up a lot of interaction as well. And I'll be honest, that helps out with interaction and allows me to kind of talk to you guys as in a way that's not just a video, but yeah, so like I said, I'm not gonna do it for every prediction, but I think I might sprinkle them in from time to time, and then do some other stuff within community interactions. But the community posts were kind of a bit of litmus tests, if you will. So yeah, so we're gonna be doing that tomorrow, and then Sunday is going to be we're gonna be reviewing a bunch of stuff and doing Tales from the Labyrinth. Yesterday was supposed to be Tales from the Labyrinth, but admittedly I was pretty tired, so we didn't end up doing that yesterday. But instead, Sunday is gonna be Tales from the Labyrinth as well as a bunch of reviews. We're gonna be reviewing Bash in Berlin. We're gonna be reviewing NXT No Mercy, and we're gonna be reviewing All Out. So now that that's out of the way, getting into the show proper, we do have three pre-show matches. Two were announced ahead of time, but it looked like they added one more in pretty much like the dead of night. AEW, please stop doing that. Like it's one thing to add a match kind of last minute, but so close to showtime. I thought I'd be able to get away with my predictions being totally up to date, but of course AEW does like to add in the dead night. But we had the match that was added. It was a 16-man tag team match as Tommy Billington, Kip Sabian, Rocky Romero, Kyle Fletcher, Leo Rush, Action Andretti, and Top Flight, that being of course Darius and Dante Martin, defeated Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, Anthony Ogogo, Ario Davari, Private Party, that being Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn, and the Dark Orders, John Silver and Alex Reynolds. So, pretty much a big old goulash of a tag team match. In fact, all three of these pre-show matches were tag team matches. Two like big several man matches. But then and next in mixed tag team action, Will Nightingale and Tomohiro Ishii defeated Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway. And because Will Nightingale won that match, she's going to choose the stipulation, or I guess she chose the stipulation for her match her match against Chris Statlander at All Out. What match did she choose? We will find out when we do our All Out predictions tomorrow. But then finally, in 10-man tag team action, the Von Erichs, that being Marshall and Ross Von Erich, Sammy Guevara, Katsuyori Shibata, and Dustin Rhodes, I should say, defeated the Undisputed Kingdom, that being Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, and Cage of Agony, that being Bishop Khan, Brian Cage, and Toa Leona. Those were the pre-show matches. Like I said, didn't I usually don't watch the pre-show, and I didn't hear as well. But now moving into the show proper, we started off with the four-way London ladders match for the AEW World Trios Championships as the Patriarchy, that being Christian Cage, Killswitch, and Nick Wayne, defended against the Bang Bang Gang, that being Rock Hard Juice Robinson, and the Guns, Austin and Colton, House of Black, that being Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews, and Pac and Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta of the Blackpool Combat Club. So pretty solid match, pretty fun match. I would say there was quite a bit of action throughout. I mentioned several times, it's hard to really mess up a ladder match, but this one was pretty solid for the most part. One of my favorite parts right in the beginning, where everybody's about to face off, and Christian Cage just straight up nopes out of there, just straight up runs up the ramp, and then later on in the match, comes back, makes his way back, just pretty much be beaten down by pretty much everybody. After he comes back, that's what you get for leaving the match, Christian. But then there was Juice Robinson about how to take out Mother Wayne, as he got involved with the Mace. Or she tried to, at least. Pac and the Blackpool Combat Club ultimately getting the win and becoming the new World Trios Champions. And so kind of an interesting decision to pop the titles on them. So how will they do as Trios Champions? And I guess we'll find out in the near future. But something worth mentioning with this match, originally it was supposed to be Pac and the Lucha Bros, aka Death Triangle, but I imagine the Lucha Brothers were pulled from this match because there's a chance they may be on their way to WWE, so they probably didn't want to pop the Trios Championships on them here. So I guess it makes sense in that regard, but still kind of a weird, interesting team. Like, I mean, there is some history, especially with Pac having teamed up with Blackpool Combat Club before, going against the Elite and everything, but yeah, so Pac and the Blackpool Combat Club picking up the win here. But next up for the AEW Women's World Championship, Timeless Toni Storm defended against her former protege, Mariah May. Cool entrance, but both pretty cool entrances, but cool entrance from Toni Storm. And I think it was this match. This might have been it all along. This may have been it all along, but this was the first time I noticed that Toni Storm is actually built from Stage 7 at Warner Studios. How did I not catch that before? If that wasn't something new, how did I not catch that? That is actually hilarious. But yeah, pretty good action between the two, including Mariah May slapping her own mother, which is crazy. Who was obviously there for her daughter, and that's how you get repaid. It definitely going against the grain for when it comes to parents/family being in attendance for matches like this involving their children/family, of course. But been interesting there. But Mariah May ultimately picking up the win and taking the Women's World Championship from Toni Storm. But Toni Storm afterwards getting a standing ovation and from the crowd and celebrating. So, if this is kind of the end of the Thomas Toni Storm gimmick, it's been a pretty fun gimmick. Like it's a gimmick that started off kind of weird, but definitely he caught on with the fans. I kind of became a fan with the gimmick, which is kind of why I wanted the match in black and white, because it would fit the gimmick even more. But a gimmick that definitely got over. It was goofy, it was zany, but it was a lot of fun. So if it comes to an end here, pretty solid run for the gimmick. But yeah, so Timeless Toni Storm ultimately loses to her scorned lover in Mariah May. And I almost forgot Mariah May drop kicked the crap um, out of Luther. So and she gave Nigel McGuinness a little smooch, and we'll potentially see how that comes back later on in the night. But in the meantime, for our next up for the FTW Championship in a last chance match, Chris Jericho defended the World Championship against Hook, and the stipulation was that if Hook lost, he would never be able to challenge for the title again as long as Jericho was the champion. So, kind of obvious who was gonna win here. Not that it's a bad thing, but Jericho coming out kind of to a live live rendition of Spotlight by even singing it himself. So that's a dead giveaway. He's gonna lose. And Hook coming out with at first with like the heartbeats akin to like Taz's theme. Has his theme song, which is pretty cool. But as for this match was pretty goofy, but ultimately not too bad. One of the major gripes I had though is way too much interference from Big Bill and Brian Keith, and unfortunately, like times previous, Katsuhiro Shibata and Samoa Joe are nowhere near this match. But Hook didn't necessarily need them because for starters he had his surprising strength to be able to lift Big Bill, and he had Big Bill accidentally going through a table that was set up with the barbed wire. But then Taz also got involved, dropped his headset, and choked out the bad apple Brian Keith. And while simultaneously Hook having the red rum locked in on Jericho, which was kind of a cool moment. And Jericho almost immediately tapping. So Hook is FTW champion, and I wish I could tell you that that's really where the feud ended, but no. They then faced later that Wednesday on Dynamite. Why? The feud should, for all intents, maybe that was just a one-off, but the feud really should be over here. Like these two do not need to feud anymore. Hook got the championship back from Jericho. Let Hook move on. Let Jericho move on. But yeah, kind of fun, kind of dumb, goofy match. It is the shortest match of the night, but they do manage to cram a bit it in the 10 minutes that they were allotted, and some kind of goofy dumb stuff throughout. As is kind of the norm for Jericho as FTW champion, including introducing cricket balls here. But the other thing is Big Bill getting a massive ovation, like here in London. The London crowd loves them some Big Bill, or as Taz called him, Big Ben, which is kind of funny. But yeah, Big Bill essentially got the reaction here that Baron Corbin got in France, and so I wonder if that'll come back up in the future, or time will tell. But next up, in three-way tag team action for the AEW World Tag Team Championships, the Young Bucks defended against both FTR and the Acclaim. So kind of taking like three different feuds and kind of meshing them together. So the Young Bucks have obviously been feuding with FTR. The Acclaim's been feuding with the Young Bucks, and then the Acclaim started up their feud with FTR. So kind of mixing together. Pretty fun match. Some pretty fun action for the most part. But I hate, and I've mentioned this multiple times. I hate that format of like two people in at a time, and then another team has to tag in. I hate it. I hate it so much. And the way it's been so prevalent in a lot of tag team matches, and not even just in AEW, but in WWE and NXT as well. It's almost like someone who's booking these matches has it out for me. He is probably the same guy for all three companies, even though all three companies are, well at least a couple of them aren't connected. But I swear it's like someone has it out for me when it comes to that, because I hate that format. I don't care if it's a format that's been done several times before. I don't care if it's a format that's old. I hate it. I can't stand it. But nevertheless, as thankfully he wasn't that bad, they still made the most of their action, and we still got quite a bit of cross section between the three teams, including Max Caster helping I believe it was Matt Jackson hit the EVP trigger and Max helping Cash Wheeler with the big rig slash shatter machine. That was pretty cool. Well, but kind of the crossways is for or each side, but ultimately the Young Bucks picking up the win and retaining the tag titles there, just to be at first confronted by GYV, the Grizzled Young Veterans, before they then attacked FTR. So I'm guessing now the Grizzled Young Veterans are fully establishing themselves within the AEW Tag Team division, and the AEW Tag Team title division at least. Which it's gonna be interesting to see them there. Obviously, GYV were part of WWE at one point, but then made their way over to AEW. So what are they gonna do in the tag team scene? We will have to wait and see. But yeah. So for now, the Young Bucks are still the tag team champions, and pretty solid match. But next up in the Casino Gauntlet match. Next up was the Casino Gauntlet match for the winner to receive a future AEW World Championship match. And the participants as follows were Orange Cassidy, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. His entrance was kind of fun, like him falling out of the sky and then coming back up with like the spotlight and everything. And nobody till Hook, but Orange Cassidy, then Kazuchika Okada, then Nigel McGuinness making his return. That hiss from Mariah May, he rejuvenated his career and he came back up. And then, like the day after, Oasis got back together. So, thanks Mariah May. But Nigel McGuinness making a return. And does this mean he'll be? He said he wants to have more matches, but I wonder if this means he'll be featured more in a wrestling capacity as things go on. But then next up, Kyle O'Reilly, then Zack Sabre Jr., which I just found out not too long ago. There isn't a Zack Sabre Sr. Maybe that might leave some of you scratching your heads, some of you looking at me like I'm dumb, which I mean I kind of am sometimes. But yeah, there's no Zack Sabre Sr. Sorry to ruin Christmas. But then Roderick Strong, then Mark Briscoe, then Hangman Adam Page, then Jeff Jarrett, then and Ricochet making his AEW debut, who then and Christian Cage pulling double duty, and then Killswitch pulling 1.5 duty, because he was pretty much there to help Christian Cage win the match. And you think he's gonna turn on Christian Cage, but then he chokeslams Kyle O'Reilly, allowing Christian Cage to pick up the win. So Christian Cage will have a shot at the AEW World Championship in the future. Obviously not for All Out, and obviously we'll get to that, but probably later on down the line. I imagine probably around like Full Gear or so. But yeah, so Christian Cage getting the opportunity. As for the match format itself, I think this is the first time I've seen the Casino Gauntlet match. So kind of like a Royal Rumble format, but like the first person to gain a pinfall pretty much score a fall. That means pinfall or submission win. And it's kind of an interesting idea. The only thing is the intervals were inconsistent. Now I've watched plenty of Royal Rumbles, so I'm not totally unfamiliar with it, but it was kind of weird, and I don't think we got like an official. Either that or I missed it. Where we got like an official interval. An official interval, pretty much telling us what the official intervals were. They were a bit on the random side, which was kind of weird, and it was kind of more so. And we didn't really get a definitive count. Like they didn't explain. Pretty much, I was a bit lost. So I'll leave it at that. Like they didn't have a set amount. Like there was gonna be 12 people. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There was 12 people in the match, but I wasn't able to find like where they announced it or mentioned it. Admittedly, the format was a bit weird, but otherwise the match was a decent bit of fun. Nigel McGuinness making his return, Christian Cage getting the win, and some pretty decent action throughout. And Ricochet making his debut in AEW, and looks like we're getting that match with Will Ospreay in the future that we were sold on. But speaking of which, next up, the aforementioned aerial assassin Will Ospreay seeks to take back, not the American Championship, but the International Championship as he takes on MJF. So, right off the bat, really cool Assassin's Creed entrance for Will Ospreay. Obviously, Will Ospreay, a big Assassin's Creed fan, talk about how it changed his life and everything, and kind of getting the intro. Before he makes his entrance, as part of his entrance and everything. And sadly, I've only really played, I think, like 1 or 2 Assassin's Creed games, but I heard some of them are good. And then MJF getting the full, hitting the full like American entrance with like the flags, and then like the Uncle Sam, almost like Apollo Creed gear, and MJF with the Lex Luger inspired trunk, which was a pretty cool look. Admittedly, for MJF, but as for this match, a whole lot of fun. These two definitely brought it. Even though this was much shorter than their previous international title match, the one that went to almost an hour, or this one I feel like was just as fun. There was a lot of action throughout. MJF up to his normal MJF shenanigans, including nailing a kangaroo kick on Will Ospreay. Hey, so much for no more ha-has and no more kangaroo kicks, but excuse me, which is funny enough, something they brought up on commentary. But and another story throughout being that Will Ospreay doesn't want to hit the Tiger Driver, or leading back to the match between Ospreay and Danielson at Dynasty, where Ospreay really devastated Danielson with the Tiger Driver and vowed not to do it again. And I like the way how the story progressed, how they milked it to the point where you want to see him hit the Tiger Driver, but he always holds back, and it for the most part costs him. But will he be able to hit the Tiger Driver on MJF? Was kind of the story throughout the match. But MJF even hitting pretty much hitting a flip off the rope on the outside. Like MJF have and this is something I'll probably get into in a later video. How MJF and Orange Cassidy almost have the same gimmick, where it's very low effort, except when it's high effort they can do it, but if they choose, they will choose not to. But Orange Cassidy more so because he's lazy. MJF because why bother? But when MJF busts out stuff like that, it gets the pop. Which MJF also, Will Ospreay is the pretty much has the home field advantage, them being in London and everything. And yes, obviously Will Ospreay's from Essex, but him getting the home field advantage here. But MJF also gets a sizable pop from the London crowd here, even though he pretty much insults them, flips them off, and but there's still sign. There was even a sign that said he's our Star Spangled Scumbag, which I think they made a T-shirt out of, if I'm not mistaken. If not, they might consider it. But the other big thing is that as MJF went to use the foreign object. Well, first let's back up a little bit. So Ospreay at first nails the hidden blade onto the cameraman. Thankfully, it's not as scary of a landing as when Undertaker landed on Sim Snuka at WrestleMania 25. Thankfully the cameraman just had to take essentially Ospreay's elbow, but then MJF capitalized from there, nailing Ospreay with the American Championship. But then, and as the referee's taken out inadvertently by Will Ospreay, as a result of MJF going for the foreign object, not the Dynamite Diamond Ring, and before he is attacked by a returning Daniel Garcia, who showed up in the mask and everything. And then that pretty much costs MJF from there. And Ospreay does nail the Tiger Driver, and it gets a huge pop. And then uses that to win the match. So the American Championship is no more, as Ospreay is handed the International Championship. A couple things worth mentioning. For starters, going back to the story of nailing the Tiger Driver, or nailing the Tiger Driver. The fact that they built it up as Ospreay not wanting to use it to the point where people wanted him to use it. Even Danielson, the guy he injured with it, was like, "Yeah, use it on MJF. Trust me, it's worth it." So when he finally does use it, it gets the sizable pop. People are happy to see it. Mostly because it means MJF gets annihilated. But the other thing is when it comes to the Diamond Ring, MJF tweet out it was stolen. Now, at first I thought, so that's how it's gonna happen. I knew Daniel Garcia was gonna interfere, but I was like, Daniel Garcia stole the Diamond Ring. He's gonna use it to take out MJF. But as it turns out, nope. The Diamond Ring was stolen for real. Someone actually stole the Diamond Ring. So I'm guessing how it probably happened, and because I imagine the Diamond Ring was likely with MJF, so either he dropped it while heading to the arena, or probably heading to his hotel, or through the airport and stuff. He might have dropped it. Someone might have went through his luggage, which I'm surprised he didn't notice. And not to throw any accusations. Maybe someone within AEW took it. Either that or it got lost somehow. MJF probably misplaced it. So the Diamond Ring has been stolen. So imagine in the foreign object, it was really more like just like a gray object, almost like brass knucks. I imagine that was probably the plan B after the Diamond Ring was stolen, but it does suck that it was stolen. So I imagine they'll probably create a new one at some point. But there's also a possibility that TSA took it. Like, it may sound far fetched, but there have been stories of TSA taking precious belongings, things while they're doing like bag screenings and stuff like that. So there's a chance that one of them took it. Again, not necessarily here to point fingers. I obviously wasn't there, but it is crazy that it was either stolen or just misplaced. There is a very good possibility that MJF just misplaced it. Heck, he'll probably find it as he's like going through his clothes probably right now. So MJF, if you're watching this, check your sock drawer. It might be there for all you know. But but still, really, really fantastic match. Wish I could say the same about the next one though, as Mercedes Moné defended the AEW TBS Championship against Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Britt Baker challenged Mercedes Moné to this match here. Britt Baker coming back from injury, coming back from having the transient I know I'm gonna butcher the name of this. The transient ischemic attack, aka aka pretty much like a mini stroke, or one of the first signs of a stroke. So coming back here and challenging Mercedes Moné for the championship here. Unfortunately, not really a great match. It's a bit clunky at times, but it's not completely on Britt Baker. Or some of it is, and I imagine some of it does boil down to ring rust. Britt Baker was out for a while. Definitely have to keep in mind, but I think also a little bit too much interference from Camille. Granted, Camille the Brick House, which they call her so nice, but now I get it. She is supposed to be like the muscle, essentially, pretty much like the classic Shawn Michaels Diesel kind of thing going on. But I think a little bit too much interference is one of the things that really took away from the match. But 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 yeah, otherwise not really the best hatching again, and I imagine a lot of it does have to do with ring rust. So hoping the next outing for Britt Baker is much better. But Mercedes Moné ultimately picking up the win here. It was kind of cool how Mercedes Moné bit down on the hand when Britt Baker went in for the lockjaw. I'm surprised. I'm surprised more people haven't tried that. But yeah, so not the best but I do. Again, I'm attributing it to, and I acknowledge that I'm probably throwing Britt Baker a bit of a bone there, but yeah. So hopefully the next outing is better. But next up, in a coffin match for the AEW TNT Championship, the scapegoat Jack Perry defends against Darby Allin. Darby Allin comes out with a face full of tax. Why is Darby attaching tax to himself? I know why, but still, it's crazy how Darby keeps attaching like tax to himself, whether it's face or like his body or whatever. And Jack Perry, I don't think I've mentioned it before, but if I haven't mentioned it before on the channel, I'll mention it here. Or that goat mask, again, he's the scapegoat and everything, but that goat mask is pretty creepy. I'm not gonna lie, like. It does kind of creep me out a little bit, and I'm not someone who's like super jumpy where I'm scared of everything. And it obviously doesn't scare me. It's just a bit more creepy, if anything. But nevertheless, has some solid action between the two, who including some more hurt glass. Thankfully, not asking people to cry him a river this time. And Darby ultimately being taped together at first, just being bound before being put inside a body bag, before being put inside the coffin. Now, why did he have both the body bag and the coffin? Like Darby Allin's no stranger to either, but why'd you have the body bag and then the coffin? It seems a little redundant. Normally, it's body bag, then you take them out of the body bag and put them in the coffin. But nope, they put the body bag in the coffin, and that's how Jack Perry wins it here. But Darby not going to fight, including spitting at Jack Perry before Jack Perry closed the lid to retain the TNT Championship. But then afterwards, the Young Bucks. Let's come out, and they're about to set Darby Allin on fire as payback for her Darby Allin setting Jack Perry on fire back at Double or Nothing and almost doing it again in Blood and Guts. But then Sting makes the save. Now, alright, so getting back into it, a few things happened in the interim between recording sessions. First of all, my laptop died, so that kind of sucked. It unplugged it. It didn't even give me a chance to plug it back in before it just straight up died. But I guess in the meantime, I learned something new, that OBS apparently still records even when your laptop's off. Like it has me sitting there like going to plug in the laptop and kind of like freeze frame like at the end of a 90s movie. But yeah, so my laptop died, and then I had to use the bathroom. So I guess getting back into it, Sting making the save for Darby Allin there, but it's something else I gotta bring up with the IWC. A lot of people complain like, "Oh, Sting retired. What's he doing back here? So, or yeah, he's already back and stuff." Like, just because they retire doesn't mean they won't show up again. Like they'll still show up from time to time. They do it in WWE all the time. Undertaker showed up this year at WrestleMania. Like it happens. Plus, Sting did say, I forgot where he said, but he did say he would kind of keep his eye out for Darby. And Darby was about to become London Royal. But yeah, so Sting showing up, making the save, and helping out Darby there. And that's how the TNT title match ended there. So, pretty decent match, pretty solid match, I would say, for the most part. Nothing too crazy out there. Having stuff that is common for both guys, I would say. But finally, in your main event, and title versus career, as Swerve Strickland defended the AEW World Championship against the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. So, Bryan Danielson coming out to the final countdown. Will this be the final countdown for Bryan Danielson's career? He lost Swerve making his entrance as well. And man, what a match! Definitely a fantastic way to close out the show from a purely emotional and storytelling point of view. Which is funny because this match is the exact same length as the Casino Gauntlet match, but the story throughout, like Bryan Danielson fighting back, Swerve doing his thing, even taunting him in front of his wife Bree and their children, and then Bryan Danielson being busted open, and the no sell from Swerve after being hit with the knee, and then just kind of brushing it off, which admittedly was pretty damn cool. But Hangman showing up, trying to get involved, all against Swerve, but carried off by security. Now, why don't they do that every time somebody tries to interfere? But of course, Hangman and Swerve are going to continue their rivalry, and we'll get to that when we get to All Out. But nevertheless, Bryan Danielson and ultimately taking down Swerve, making him tap out to the LaBelle Lock for Bryan Danielson, and to win the AEW World Championship, and definitely a feel-good moment. Bryan Danielson has said that this is his career highlight, which I know this got a lot of the comparisons between this moment here and when Daniel Bryan won at WrestleMania 30. I can see why. I can see Daniel Bryan's point of view / Bryan Danielson's point of view. I might interchange between the two. I can kind of see his point of view because as in the match at WrestleMania 30, he was in like a lot of pain, but this one not quite as much, and then all the extra stuff that Bryan Danielson had went through. The fact that he was on the shelf for like a few years, he didn't know if he would wrestle again, and then he wrestles again. He winds down his career in WWE, heads over to AEW, and with the moment there, and I know a lot of the people compare the two moments, trying to say one's better than the other, which is typical IWC stuff. But I think as cool as that moment is, for starters, I didn't get to see the WrestleMania 30 moments live. In person, I saw it through clips and everything, but this moment here is also really feel good. The struggles that Bryan Danielson had gone through, him to reach the top of the mountain again, and even going through what he's gone through in AEW, in his pursuits like the world title, to finally ascend to the top there. Congrats to Bryan Danielson, and he's made it known that once he drops the world title, he will officially retire from wrestling, and so that could be months from now, that could be days from now. But yeah, so when Danielson loses the AEW World Championship, he will officially retire. So I imagine, and that will probably be a big deal as they roll towards it. But yeah, so congrats, all the props in the world of Bryan Danielson. And admittedly, it did surprise me a little. Honestly, actually, I'll say that it didn't surprise me that much, because it was a pretty big moment, and you would want a big moment. It definitely sent the fans home happy. I think the fans would have been happy if Swerve had won as well, but it definitely would have been very emotional, very bittersweet, because Bryan Danielson has to retire and everything. But this was a really cool moment as well. But it is interesting. So I wonder if Bryan Danielson signed some sort of extension, or if they are just going to let him be world champion while technically not being under contract. If so, interesting how they're going about that. But nevertheless, that is going to do it for her All In this year. Between this year and last year, I might have to go with this year for her All In. And I know last year's All In was also really solid. for the most part, there was the stuff that happened with like CM Punk and everything, but otherwise, last year was pretty solid. But I think the stories going into this All In, like the different stories coming together, the stuff that got resolved and stuff like that. Osprey getting his moment, Danielson getting his moment, and at least in AEW, that is I think really um, is what really helped elevate this year's All In, and the fact that there wasn't really too much incident other than the Diamond Ring being stolen, but there wasn't, and that thing seemingly went off without a hitch. I think really helped elevate it. As for strongest and weakest of the night, the strongest, I definitely got to go with the main event. There are a few contenders, admittedly. Like the international championship match was really good. The casino gauntlet was pretty fun. The tag team match was fun as well. But the main event definitely was the cherry on top and the perfect send off at the end of the night. And as for the weakest, I gotta go with the TBS Championship match for the aforementioned reasons. But nevertheless, that's going to do it for this review. Now, because it is kind of late, unfortunately, kind of the byproduct of my laptop dying and me having to use the bathroom. Unfortunately, that means this probably won't go up until tomorrow. Oh, so you're getting 4 videos tomorrow. Oh, just like you'll most likely get 4 videos. Yeah, you will get 4 videos. So, 8 videos over the weekend. Oh boy, am I gonna be busy or what? But nevertheless, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor: like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and turn on post notifications so you know every time I upload videos, you can see as soon as it drops. And let me know in the comments what your thoughts on anything or not anything or any match within the show. Your thoughts on All In. Did you like Slight All In this year? Did you like my review of All In? Let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace.